If you've ever poured everything into winning over a woman, constantly searching for the right words, the perfect look, or the coolest move, you might have wondered, what would actually happen if you just stopped trying to impress her? Imagine you suddenly let go of all that pressure, ignored your inner critic, and quit bending over backward. Would things fall apart? Or would something unexpected and honestly kind of shocking actually happen? Most of us submit to this silent arms race from the very beginning of a romantic pursuit. You might catch yourself scrolling through her Instagram, guessing her favorite band, or rehearsing a witty text, desperately wanting to stand out. This isn't just a guy thing, it's a human thing. We crave acceptance, especially from the person we're interested in. But the cost? You could be selling out your authenticity. So what actually happens when you drop that mask and stop chasing approval? Conversations grow strained because you're always monitoring yourself, and real connection gets replaced by a weird, anxious energy. Now here's the kicker. That pressure actually works against you. People sense inauthenticity on a gut level. Even if she doesn't consciously realize it, she'll pick up the tension, the effort, the underlying fear that you're not measuring up. The more you hustle for her approval, the less magnetic you appear. The real shock is this. The less you try to impress, the more impressive you become. Why is that? The first reason has to do with confidence. When you stop chasing her approval, you send one powerful message. I'm enough, and I know it. Suddenly, you're not just another guy seeking validation. You become a person who validates himself. That self-assurance creates gravity. She feels it. People are drawn to those who move through the world unburdened by the need to please. And there's more at play here. The psychology is deep. When you stop trying so hard to impress, you free yourself from this trap. You begin to show up as yourself, without that layer of defensive anxiety. But here's something even more fascinating. When you stop over-efforting, you reclaim your emotional energy and presence. Women notice this. The difference is dramatic. Instead of interacting with someone who's stressed and self-critical, they're talking to a person who's relaxed, focused, and genuinely there. Emotional withdrawal, which is common when people get burnt out from constant approval chasing, leads to emptiness and stress in a relationship. You might become distant, less affectionate, less engaged. Ironically, the whole point of trying to impress was to feel more connected, but the outcome is usually the opposite. When you drop the act, you reverse that process. You're present and available, which lets her relax, trust, and open up more herself. So practically, what does this look like? It evaporates, replaced by something easier and richer, a genuine connection. There's a wild paradox here. When you drop the pursuit of impressing, you can actually become more desirable. Women are, after all, looking for someone who's real, stable, and unafraid of vulnerability. It signals emotional intelligence. If you're showing up as you are, not as you hope to be perceived, you show that you trust yourself. That's deeply attractive. It's not about being brash, arrogant, or uncaring. It's about being grounded and self-contained. You stand out, not because you're trying to stand out, but because you're the only one not scrambling for her attention. But let's not sugarcoat this. For a lot of guys, stopping the effort feels risky. You might worry that, without trying, you'll be seen as lazy or indifferent. Isn't effort a good thing in a relationship? There's a difference. Healthy effort is about curiosity, respect, and attentiveness. You are no longer chasing, so she isn't constantly retreating. There's a balance. You'll find, too, that the quality of conversations improve dramatically. You get to talk about things that really matter, not just surface topics or what you think she wants to hear. Sharing your genuine thoughts, values, and humor creates depth. She gets to meet the real you, and she'll often respond by being truer to herself too. The connection grows richer, more nuanced. These are the interactions that build something lasting. But what about the risk? Yeah, sometimes revealing your authentic traits means she might not be interested. That feels scary. But ask yourself, what's worse? Rejection because you were yourself, or acceptance based on a version of you that isn't real? If you suppress everything unique about yourself for acceptance, you end up playing a never-ending game of pretend. You have to keep up the act forever, which is draining and ultimately unsatisfying. Also, if you're ready to fast-track your success, check out my new course in the description or comments for exclusive strategies. You become so afraid of rejection that you'd rather not risk it at all. This behavior isn't just bad for relationships, it's toxic for your own mental health. Isolation and withdrawal are linked with depression, stress, and feelings of emptiness. When you drop the act and just engage as yourself, you free up that emotional energy. You start to feel lighter, more present, more capable of building meaningful relationships. One thing that commonly happens when you stop trying to impress is a massive increase in self-respect. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's reactions. Instead, you begin looking inward. You become less fazed by disapproval, less desperate for praise. This inner stability is gold. It makes you resilient, more relaxed, and ultimately more attractive to everyone around you. There's an even deeper layer to this. When you stop impressing, you allow the unpredictable parts of yourself to surface. Suddenly, you're not just two people dating, you're two people discovering. There's real chemistry there. What about the habit of overthinking? Most guys enter a doom loop of, what does she want me to say? Should I wear this? Should I laugh at that? The irony is, the more you analyze, the less genuine you become. Overthinking blocks real spontaneity. When you quit chasing her approval, you reclaim your sense of fun. You laugh when you want to. You admit what you don't know. You stop being afraid of harmless awkwardness. The tension dissolves. Conversations become actual interactions, not performances. You also discover which relationships are truly worthwhile. If you stop performing and the other person loses interest, that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also a gift. That connection was never real. Now you have room in your life for someone who values the real you, and that's where magic happens. Let's talk about the difference this makes for her. We instinctively trust people who show their imperfections, admit their mistakes, and aren't constantly seeking praise. When you show up with that attitude, you trigger a mirror effect. She's more likely to respond openly, to be vulnerable, and to let down her guard. Trust isn't just good for romance, it's essential to every real relationship. If you've ever been stuck in a will she like me loop, obsessing over every detail, worrying about the next move, think about what you're really doing. You're outsourcing the job of liking yourself to someone else. That never works. When you take it back, when you anchor your self-worth inside, the entire dynamic changes. You stop chasing, and ironically, become someone worth chasing. And there are bonus effects. Beyond romance, when you stop living to impress, your friendships improve, your work interactions grow easier, and you feel less exhausted by social life. Oddly enough, stopping the performance often leads to surprising results: increased desire, stronger connection, and mutual respect. You'll notice that she calls more, texts more, seeks out your company. Or if she doesn't, you get a clear answer without having wasted months living as someone you're not. Think about this real-world scenario. Let's say you try to impress for weeks, hiding your love for fantasy novels because you worry she'll think it's childish. Every conversation you substitute her preferred interests and avoid sharing what genuinely excites you. You get a few text replies, some lukewarm dates, but the connection fizzles. Now imagine you openly tell her about your latest obsession with Lord of the Rings, and she either laughs and joins in, or doesn't connect and disengages. In the first case, you trade surface-level approval for actual resonance. The truth is, everyone is hungry for authenticity. In a world full of curated profiles, highlight reels, and endless self-editing, meeting someone who simply shows up is refreshing, maybe even shocking. If you want to dramatically improve your chances, your happiness, and your odds that she'll stick around, drop the act. So what happens when you stop trying to impress her? You'll probably worry at first. You might fear rejection, silence, or even mockery. But if you push through, you start to discover a new form of connection. One rooted in honesty, self-respect, and relaxation. You reclaim control over your own life. The conversations get better. The attraction grows stronger. And you finally breathe easy, knowing that what survives is real. And maybe the most incredible part? When you let go of impressing, you open the door to being surprised. You get to discover not just how she responds to the real you, but also who she really is when you're not locked in the performance. Thanks for watching. If you want to get the results you wish for fast, then check my limited time offer on my new course, which will skyrocket your success in dating. Click the link right now down below in the description or in the comments, and grab this opportunity. See you in there.